for the other groups, kung hindi kayo nagpa-present, makinig kayo kasi lalabas na sa exam yung mga case na to. These four cases, I will most likely use these four cases din sa inyong exam, sa long exam. Most likely sa long exam. So that, syempre, kung nakinig kayo at nakinig kayo kahit hindi yung turn ng group nyo, nakinig kayo, most likely makukuha yung mga tanong ko. Kasi sila din yung cases. No? Hindi same na same case, pero kamukha ng case na yun. Okay, so I encourage everyone to listen and give respect then to the presenter somehow. Okay, so now first, since I already randomized this, we'll start first with group. The first case will be, sige, wait lang. Share ko muna tong slides ko. Okay, wait lang ha. Okay. Yeah. So the two questions to ask that most likely you have to answer is the problem, what division is affected, what neurotransmitter is affected, then if it's hyper or hypo responsive, no? So mamaya each group will answer this picture, no? Explain ko mamaya, no? So let's first go to the group number 3. Okay, group 3. By the way, each group will have only 15 minutes para mabilis tayo. Okay, 15 minutes to present. So group number 3, let's tackle your case first. I think pwede mag-share na. Yeah, all participants can share. Yan. So rest of the group, listen ha.
Pwede na pong mag-start, Doc.
Yes. Record ko lang ha. Record. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay, you may start.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to Dr. Tan and to Dr. Kakas. I am Grace Marcelino, part of Group 3, and today we're going to discuss organophosphate poisoning, or rather, the conclusion that we reach. Next slide, please. Discussing off with the case, a 40-year-old farmer arrives at the ER complaining of difficulty breathing. He also presents with excessive lacrimation, salivation, and profuse vomiting. Physical examination reveals a pulse of 48 beats per minute, a respiratory rate of 30 breaths per minute, and a BP of 90/58 millimeters of mercury. He also has pinpoint pupils and audible wheezing. Now, to discuss the case, the patient presented with a chief complaint of difficulty breathing, meaning nahirapan po siya huminga. Then he also presented with the symptoms of excessive lacrimation. Excessive lacrimation, there's excessive tearing of the eyes or panay pagluluhan ng kanyang mata. For salivation, siya po ay naglalaway, and profuse vomiting, siya po ay nagsusuka. Now, discussing the physical examination, he has a pulse rate of 48 beats per minute, which is below normal, which is around 60 to 100. Kaya we can conclude that the patient is bradycardic or he has bradycardia. Meaning po ng bradycardia ay mabagal po ang tibok ng kanyang puso. A respiratory rate of 30 breaths per minute is also above normal. Kasi po yung normal rate for a person is around 12 to 20, though there are some scholarly journals and books that says it's around 15 to 22. And regardless of that, the respiration rate of the patient is still above normal. Kaya we can conclude that the patient is tachypneic or he has tachypnea. Yung takip niya po ay mabilis pong paghinga ng ating pasyente. Then a blood pressure of 90/58, which is also below normal of 120/80. Kaya we can conclude that the patient is hypotensive or mababa po ang kanyang BP. For the pinpoint pupils, it is also called miosis. In layman's term, it is also called constriction of the pupils rather. And to make it easier to understand, in Filipino po, yung kanyang balintataw ay maliit. So, balintataw is the Filipino term for pupil. And lastly, for the audible wheezing, it's also not a normal finding during physical examination kasi it's usually found for patients who has bronchospasm, bronchoconstriction, or such. Okay. Now that we have discussed the case, we have discussed the abnormal findings and its explanation, we shall now proceed to the guide questions. So starting off with guide question number 1. Next slide, please.
Okay. Good morning po, Docs. So yung number 1 po, which division of the autonomic nervous system is likely affected or involved in this case? What type of autonomic receptor is involved and why? So in this case po, the affected division of the autonomic nervous system is parasympathetic. Since parasympathetic nervous system po was affected, it is most likely overstimulation po of muscarinic receptors as we concluded. Ang muscarinic receptors po mediates many parasympathetic responses in the body. And according po to the physical examination presented, M2 and M3 receptors were specifically affected. Sa question number 2.
Hi, good morning. As for guide question number 2, what physiological mechanism explain the patient's symptom? Explain your answer. In here, there is an inhibition of acetylcholinesterase. Hence, there is an accumulation of acetylcholine at the synapse, which led to stimulation of the muscarinic receptors, causing depolarization of the muscle.
I think mute siya or nawalan ng connection.
Okay na po siya, Doc.
Okay.
Bale, from the
Kaya din?
presented symptoms,
Okay,
okay na po.
Okay.
So from the presented symptoms above, the possible physiologic condition na we have arrived to of the patient is cholinergic toxicity from organophosphate poisoning. So in this case, it could have resulted from overexposure to pesticides. So yung pesticides na yun is nagko-contain ng organophosphate and nag-cause ito ng organophosphate poisoning dahil siya ay farmer. So yung overexposure to insecticides na nagko-contain ng organophosphates, yun yung nag-cause ng cholinergic toxicity basically. So yung organophosphates is a type of molecule na ingredient siya sa pesticides which form covalent bonds with the active site of our acetylcholinesterase. So ano yung acetylcholinesterase? Ito yung enzyme na nagdeterminate ng activity of our acetylcholine. So dahil nga nawalan na ng acetylcholinesterase, so nawawala na yung mag-aalis dun sa acetylcholine. Then, ang mangyari is magkakaroon ng excessive acetylcholine and nagkakos ito ng overstimulation of your muscarinic receptors na na-mention dun sa first question. And nagkakos ito ng depolarization. So, yung constant firing ng neurotransmitter na acetylcholine is nagkakos siya ng constant na depolarization, tuloy-tuloy lang, and eventually mag-lead ito sa parasympathetic system overdrive or overwhelming. So, namamanifest ito ng symptoms na difficulty of breathing, na pwedeng cause ito ng muscle fasciculations or yung bronchospasm na tinatawag, kung saan yung smooth muscles ng ating bronchioles ay nag-constrict. So, as it continues, nagkakaroon ng narrowing of our airways and mamamanifest ito ng ating audible wheezing ng patient. So, other parasympathetic preganglion neuron affectations are manifested as excessive lacrimation or yung pagluluha, miosis or yung pagliit ng yung gitnang parte ng mata or yung pupils, and then salivation or paglalaway. So, kasama din po doon is yung profuse vomiting, pagsusuka, bradycardia, pagbagal ng tibok ng puso, and hypotension or yung pagbaba ng ating blood pressure. So, lahat po yun is cholinergic responses of the organs as innervated by our vagus nerve or cranial nerve number 10 pathway. So, more of these symptoms will be further discussed by Doc Mark.
Next slide po. Doc Charles. So ayan, to further explain the mechanism involved in our patient's symptoms. So upon arriving the emergency room, he is complaining of difficulty in breathing. So difficulty in breathing is primarily associated po with the M3 muscarinic receptor. So overactivation po of this receptor by acetylcholine leads to airway narrowing. Then he also presented excessive lacrimation or the excessive tearing. So si lacrimal glands primarily express the M3 muscarinic receptor on acinar cells, which siya yung nagmi-mediate ng parasympathetic stimulation ng acetylcholine para mag-induce ng tear production. So next is salivation. So when acetylcholine binds to M3 muscarinic receptors on salivary gland acinar cells, then it would initiate a cascade that releases saliva. Then he also presented for profuse vomiting. So activation ng ating M3 receptors by acetylcholine, it will trigger smooth muscle contraction ng ating gastrointestinal tract, which facilitates yung forceful expulsion ng stomach contents or yung pagsusuka nga. Then ang pulse rate niya is 48 beats per minute, which is considered bradycardic or bumabagal yung heart rate niya. So since M2 receptor is the main muscarinic receptor sa heart natin, so kapag na-activate ito ni acetylcholine, it will slow the heart rate and decrease the force of contraction, which reduces the overall cardiac output. The next is ang respiratory rate ni patient is 30 breaths per minute, which is considered tachypneic, since it is greater than the normal. So kagaya nga nun sa difficulty in breathing, activation ng M3 receptors natin sa airway smooth muscle will result in smooth muscle contraction, which narrows the airways. Also, ang blood pressure niya is 90/58 millimercury, which is considered hypotensive. So katulad sabi ko nga kanina, si M2 receptor is the main muscarinic receptor sa heart. So kapag na-activate siya ni acetylcholine, it will slow the heart rate and decrease the force of contraction, which reduces the overall cardiac output. Next is pinpoint of pupils or miosis. So activation ng M3 receptors by acetylcholine leads to the constriction of the iris smooth muscle, causing the pupil to become smaller po. And lastly, audible wheezing was also presented by the patient. So kapag nag-bind si acetylcholine sa M3 receptors natin, which are located primarily sa smooth muscle cells ng airways, so it will trigger a signaling cascade po that will result sa constriction ng ating muscle, which produces the audible wheezing sound. Yun lang po.
Okay, so to reverse the symptoms, ano po yung medication na ibibigay? So the patient should be treated with muscarinic receptor antagonist, namely atropine. So ano po ba yung atropine? Yung atropine works by blocking acetylcholine. So yung medication, nire-reverse po niya yung parasympathetic response, which helps in the relaxation of the airways as well as it reduces po yung obstruction. So next po si Daphne.
So, ayan, since alam na natin na atropine is the first line medication, pero hindi na-fix lahat ng atropine yung mga symptoms. Kasi binablock niya lang yung muscarinic effects. And the nicotinic effect is still a problem. So, if symptoms persist, like nagkaroon ng weaknesses in the muscle of the respiratory system, we will give pralidoxime. The pralidoxime works at the root kasi it reactivates the acetylcholine esterase by breaking the bond between the enzyme and the organophosphate. So hine-help nito na i-reduce yung nicotinic overstimulation. Pero may catch siya. Kailangan maibigay early yung medication bago mag-ages yung enzyme organophosphate complex. Kasi once na nangyari na ang aging, yung bond or specifically the phosphate group, magiging permanent and hindi na siya maaalis ng pralidoxime. Kaya yung timing is critical, very critical, lalo na pag nagbibigay ng mga medication. And supportive care treatment, it is equally important with medication. Kasi diba minsan, the patient comes in dehydrated due to fluid loss from vomiting. And so IV fluids are needed para ma-stabilize yung blood pressure and the circulation. Pumapasok din dito yung oxygen therapy, lalo na pag lumala ang respiratory distress. In severe cases, mechanical ventilation may be required until the patient can breathe independently again.
Meron pa ba? Okay, so I think that's it. Now for may I ask the other groups, groups 2, group 1, group 2, and group 4, may questions ba kayo? Sa group number 3. Clarification, part na hindi naintindihan. Pasok naman sila sa time limit. Yeah, 15 minutes. Pasok naman. Okay. Ako, may question ako eh. Ano yung balintawtaw? Napa-research ako dun.
Doc, yung balintataw po, yun po yung
Yeah.
Filipino term ng pupil.
Pupils,
So,
yeah. Napa-research ako na ano yun. No, kami ni Dr. Hasito. But that's good, no? Okay, that you are aware of that. Kasi syempre when you cater to Filipino patients, no, sometimes they don't know the word pupil. Of course, you need to know the Tagalog terms as well. First thing first, comments. Maybe faculty, may comments ba kayo? Sa case? Or sa presentation ng group 3? Balik kayo sa case. Yung case mismo, sa second page yata yun. Yung next. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I like the group started the case. Very, I hope other groups will also follow what they did. I commend the group because they define first the terms. They define what is lacrimation. They define what is salivation. They define it. No? That's very important. Very good for the group. Yun yung actually laging nagkakamali mga estudyante sa first year, no? They go straight to the questions agad, but they don't understand the terminology. But the group 3 discuss it. So hindi ko na kailangan siya discuss. At the same time, they discuss na yung 48 beats per minute, that's low. Kasi ang normal, 60 to 100. Yung breaths per minute, that's also high because very commendable what they did. Okay? Kung sino man nag-isip nun, very good. I highly appreciate that. I hope the other group also follow what they did, no? And then they identified the salient features or salient points of the case. Naka-underline pa nga eh. Tapos yun nga, in-explain pinpoint pupils, ganyan, audible wheezes, hindi naman nakikita yan. Ganyan. So, we appreciate it. And that's the way how you approach the case before you start answering. So from there, maganda yung starting nyo. I think the group did well. Now for my side questions. So, sige, next slide. So, I think most of you answered naman. Sige. Next. Charles. Wala, nawala si Charles. Hello? Ako ba yung nawala or si Charles yung nawala? O nakatulog na. Ayan. So, this was already answered, no? Division.
Connection ko, Doc. Tapos na po.
Okay lang. So, which division is affected? So, parasympathetic and muscarinic receptors. Okay, tama naman. But my question siguro is, what neurotransmitter is released by your parasympathetic nervous system?
Acetylcholine po.
And acetylcholine will bind to what receptors?
Sa muscarinic receptors po.
Lung?
Muscarinic cholinergic receptors po.
Lung?
Nicotinic po.
Nicotinic din. Okay. So, tanong ko, obviously, di ba, na meron tayong, sabi ko, we able to answer already that there's already muscarinic involvement here, no? Tama. Was there a nicotinic receptor involvement in this case? So my question is from the group to the group 3. Is there a nicotinic receptor involvement in this case? Sabi ni Chris, parang wala. Bakit wala, Chris?
Wala po.
Sige, go. Miss Mateo.
Hindi po included yung skeletal muscles po sa symptoms.
Very good. Exactly, Okay. Sana na-research nyo talaga yun, hindi yung nakuha from the upper batch, ha? But that's good, okay? Saan ba nakikita ang Romilay? Saan ba nakikita ang mga nicotinic receptors? Saan nakikita ang mga nicotinic receptors?
Sa, wait, I'm not,
Hala.
Opo, Doc.
James, sige.
Sa skeletal muscle po, sa autonomic nervous system, sa CNS, tsaka po sa adrenal.
Okay. Yes, correct. Tama, James. So, skeletal muscle, sa autonomic ganglion, yung relay center, yung gitna. Di ba sa discussion ko, di ba, yung autonomics, it's a two-way neurons. Unlike skeletal, diretso siya. So, we have nicotinic receptor in the autonomic ganglion, okay, yung relay center, yung bus stop, and then also in the skeletal muscle. And if you can take a look at the case, the patient does not complain of weakness. Does not complain of muscle weakness, paralysis, no? So yun. That's why okay, so that's why yun nga. Sabihin ko na yun, the patient doesn't have any nicotinic receptor affectation. Okay, next. Okay, actually straightforward naman, no? Sige, yung siguro yung last na lang, last question. Ay, hindi last. Sige, itong table, may table kayo. Ayan, this is a good table. Question ko lang for the group. No? You said stimulation of M2 receptors in the heart. Bakit kung stimulation, bakit bumaba yung heart rate?
Nagkaroon po ng overstimulation, Doc.
Di ba pag stimulate, dapat tumaas? Bakit bumaba yung heart rate? Pag in-stimulate ko yung M2.
Bali, nag-decrease yung Doc, yung node firing.
Bakit? Ano bang meron kay M2 receptors?
Ano po, Doc? Inhibitor po si M2.
Okay. Anong G protein subunit ang ginagamit?
GI po.
Okay, so it inhibits your adenine cyclase that will lead to inhibition of the whole thing. Okay, so kaya kahit you stimulate M2 leads to actually negative impact or negative parang inhibition of the nodal stimulation. Okay, kaya naging bradycardia. Okay, yun lang. Yun, gusto ko na emphasize that hindi lahat ng M receptors have the same mechanism. Okay, so yung M1, M3, M4, M1, M3, M5 is different from M2 and M4. Okay. Sige. And then last, this last talaga, second to the last. Sige, next slide. Ito, apply lang natin. Kunyari, kayo ay nasa ER. Next slide. Ayan, yung number 3 question. Okay. Nakakita kayo ng patient na to. Yung case na to. Okay. Sorry sa case na lang, Charles, dun sa case second slide nyo. Nakita nyo to, nasa ER kayo, you're already doing clerkship or PGI na kayo, intern na kayo. Okay? And nakita yung case na to sa harapan nyo. So alam nyo, kailangan bigyan ng atropine, kailangan bigyan nito mga gamot. Charles, papunta sa second slide. Second slide. Number 2. Slide number 2. Yung case mismo. Yan. So ito, 40-year-old farmer, nakita nyo sa ER. Alam nyo, bibigyan dapat ng atropine. Ano yung una yung gagawin? Considering may heart rate na siya, may BP na siya, ito na, ano na siya, anong una yung gagawin? Hmm? Kailangan nyo protect yung sarili nyo. So, anong dapat yung gawin? To protect yourself.
Use PPE, Doc.
Ha?
PPE po.
You have to wear mask. You have to wear gloves. You have to wear gown. Kundi ikaw rin. Remember, the farmer is exposed yung buong katawan niya sa pesticide, di ba? Nag-spray yan, di ba? Sige, one slide before nga. Yung, gusto ko makita yung picture. Maganda yung picture niya eh. Yeah, di ba? Nag-spray siya. Di ba? Hindi na siya naka-face mask eh. Okay. So, syempre, sometimes, dumitikit yan sa mga skin, sa damit nila, yung spray. Tapos, ikaw, as a doctor, hindi ka naka-mask, hindi ka naka-gloves, hinawakan mo siya, just expect all those organophosphate na ingredients is in your hands, in your face. You yourself will also have organophosphate poison. So you have to protect yourself, no? Before, actually, yun yung gusto ko yung makita na, okay, I have to protect myself, wear mask, PPE, no? So that you will not also have this organophosphate poisoning. And it's common, especially in region 3. Yeah, region 3, no? Dyan, sa Bulacan, sa Pampanga, because it's the central region, no? Palayan. Okay, so now, just want to share a slide. Wait lang ah. Ewan ko, nakikita nyo na. So, may I ask the group? Okay. Pwede bang paliguan ang farmer sa ER? I think, ma'am, they wash or they remove the clothes sa ER. They contaminate it. No, they contaminate. Especially if they're suspecting of organophosphate. Yeah, decontamination. Yeah. So, going back to the case, so MI asked one representative from the group, can you annotate? Alam ko, inalam ko annotate. No, in this picture, asan dyan yung affected area? Or anong division, anong receptors is being affected in this case? Is bilugan nyo. Okay, there, sa may postganglionic of your parasympathetic, no? Okay, so yan. Okay, yun lang. So we can see that you were able to apply what you have learned sa picture nito. Okay, so I think that's all for the group 3. Oh, simple lang, straightforward. Okay? May question ba kayo group 3? Okay naman? Walang question group 3? So I hope the other groups were able to listen, ha? Okay, sige, let's go to group number 2. Okay, let's talk about their case. Group number 2.
Game na po ba, Doc?
Yes.
Good morning, doctors. Good morning, classmates. We are Group 2 and we are about to present a case. Next slide, please. Okay, a 45-year-old man with a history of uncontrolled diabetes present with persistent dizziness, palpitations, and episodes of excessive sweating, especially when standing up or after prolonged periods of lying down. His blood pressure is 110/70 while lying down, but drops to 80/50 upon standing up, with a heart rate of 60 beats per minute. The rest of his physical examination is normal. Next slide, please.
So the patient's symptoms were persistent dizziness, palpitation, and hyperhidrosis upon prolonged periods of standing up and lying down. So yung blood pressure din ng patient nag-drop from 110/70 to 80/50. And the patient is also have normal blood normal heart rate po. Next slide po.
So the history of patient, so the patient is said to have a long history of uncontrolled diabetes, which is likely caused by autonomic neuropathy leading to orthostatic hypotension. So yung hypotension po, yung symptoms nito is the dizziness. So when you stand up po, yung gravity causes our blood to pull in the veins of our lower part of our body or sa legs po. So this pulling reduces the amount of blood returning to your heart, and which in turn temporarily lowers the amount of blood your heart pumps out. So as a result po, bumababa po yung blood pressure ng patient. So yung palpitation, ito po yung way ng body natin to compensate when our blood pressure goes down. So it activates the autonomic nervous system po ng katawan ng patient. So yung excessive sweating or the hyperhidrosis is also the way our body responds to sudden blood pressure drop. So yung sympathetic system increases heart rate po, and then the vascular tone, and also activates the sweat glands ng katawan natin. So yung the autonomic nerve damage impair blood vessel regulation and heart rate response, resulting in abnormal cardiovascular reaction to postural changes. And again, yung hypertension po is common among patient na merong poorly controlled long-standing diabetes.
Alright, so here we'll see a flowchart po based sa conclusion of the group na diabetic autonomic neuropathy. So yung case po natin is may history ng uncontrolled diabetes, and to explain in layman's term po, yung hyperhidrosis is excessive sweating, while yung blood pressure po natin na 110/70 na nag-drop po sa 80/50, and then yung palpitations po is karaniwang nararamdaman na parang yung bounding pulse natin or parang bumibilis. Pero sa case po na ito is nag-retain sa borderline normal na 60 po. So yung nakalagay po kanina doon, yung normal range generally is expected at 60 to 100 beats per minute po. So here, we'll see sa history of uncontrolled diabetes, meron po tayong constant environment ng high blood glucose level sa ating katawan. So this in turn will damage to our sympathetic nerves, and then magli-lead po sa impaired vasoconstriction. And then yung baroreceptor reflex po natin na nagde-detect ng changes sa blood pressure, magkakaroon po ng inadequate heart rate response. So instead na mag-compensatory tachycardia, nag-retain po siya sa 60. So then magre-result po siya sa orthostatic hypotension, which is pagbaba po ng BP when standing, and then borderline normal nga po na heart rate. Tapos meron pong reflex activations na nag-erratic po. That's why yung hyperhidrosis na or excessive sweating. Then yung ineffective cerebral perfusion po natin nag-lead sa dizziness, palpitations, and yung nararamdaman po niya na parang faintness or parang nagdidilim yung paningin. Next slide.
So for question number 2, which division of autonomic nervous system is likely affected or involved in this case? So the sympathetic nervous system is affected in this patient's case. Our sympathetic nervous system is responsible for our fight or flight response, and its functions include the regulation of blood pressure and heart rate. So yung sympathetic nervous system natin, normally nagre-respond siya sa shift in position, as exemplified, yung patient natin ay patayo, and nagre-respond nito by increasing our heart rate and vascular tone. However, the patient's heart rate was indicated to be low, and it remains relatively low despite the low blood pressure. Additionally, ang stimulation po ng ating sweat glands is exclusive sa sympathetic nervous system, which helped us identify ang autonomic nervous system division na involved.
So as a continuation po, the sympathetic nervous system is affected since there is deficient activation of receptors due to the degeneration of sympathetic ganglionic neuron. Since the patient po has nerve damage due to diabetes, affected po yung sympathetic ganglionic fibers that would lead to decreased release ng neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine from the preganglion and norepinephrine from the postganglion. So magkakaroon ngayon ng decreased binding sa beta-1 receptors ng target organ, which is yung heart. So there will be no increase in heart contraction leading to a decreased cardiac output. That's why the BP did not go back to normal.
For guide question number 3, is this an example of a normal autonomic reflex? Why or why not? We have a table for normal and abnormal autonomic reflex. For normal autonomic reflexes, first feature, upon standing, blood pools in the legs, baroreceptors detects this and trigger a sympathetic response, causing vasoconstriction or narrowing of blood vessel and a rise in heart rate to stabilize blood pressure. Next, BP values. In healthy adults, systolic BP may briefly drop by about 10 millimeters of mercury, but quickly returns to baseline, around 120/80 in this patient's case. Next, heart rate. Heart rate rises by about 10 to 20 beats per minute from baseline to maintain perfusion. Perfusion is the process of blood carrying vital substances like oxygen and nutrients flowing through tissues and organs. The normal resting rate for our patient is 60 to 100 beats per minute. Symptoms. Most healthy individuals remain asymptomatic, though a brief lightheadedness may occur. Baroreceptor function intact, meaning the reflex mechanism works properly. Autonomic nervous system, both sympathetic and parasympathetic system responds appropriately. Lastly, BP recovery. BP returns to baseline and stabilizes within seconds.
So again, the previous presenter explained to us the normal autonomic reflex. No? So my task now is to discuss why our case represents an abnormal autonomic reflex. So that normally when a person stands up after lying down for a prolonged period of time, the cardiovascular system must adjust to a new challenge, which is to maintain the blood flow of the brain, to maintain blood flow to the brain while gravity pulls blood into the legs, leading to a temporary drop in blood pressure. So under normal circumstances, this drop is detected by baroreceptors, which then activate the sympathetic nervous system to restore the blood pressure through vasoconstriction and an increased heart rate, as already explained by the previous presenter. However, in our case, diabetes has caused nerve damage over time, impairing or even eliminating sympathetic function. And as a result, the baroreceptors cannot trigger an adequate response that causes understimulation. Due to the understimulation, the response of the sympathetic activity resulted in no vasoconstriction and an inadequate rise in the heart rate, leading to persistent low blood pressure. So this explains the symptoms observed in our patients, which are dizziness, palpitations, and excessive sweating. So in order for us to give you an overview and to simplify what happens in a normal and abnormal autonomic reflex, let me show you a diagram. Next slide, please. To summarize, in a normal autonomic reflex, the baroreceptors and the sympathetic system promptly correct the drop in blood pressure that occurs on standing because as we have studied and as we have discussed earlier, the sympathetic nervous system is a fight or flight response. Kaya mabilis mababalik so normal yung ating blood pressure. However, next slide please. In an abnormal autonomic reflex, which in our case is in diabetic autonomic neuropathy, the autonomic nerve damage disrupts this mechanism, leading blood pressure unstable upon standing and resulting in orthostatic hypotension, again explaining the symptoms of dizziness, palpitations, and sweating abnormalities. And that would be all.
Thank you very much, Group 2. Okay, so other groups, Group 1, Group 3, Group 4, may question ba kayo sa presentation ng Group 2? Wala. Okay, very clear naman, no? Okay. Comments about the presentation of Group 2, very good. I'm so far I'm satisfied for the presentation of the first two groups, no? Very clear, straightforward. What I like the group is especially, no, actually naabangan ko kung maglalagay kayo ng flowchart. And I commend the group for putting a flowchart, which is makes it easier for us. Can you go back to the two slides, past two slides? Yan. Gusto ko lang sabihin sa inyo na mahilig kami ni Doc Jacinto, or kami lahat kami dito, sa flowchart, especially when you present. So this is a great addition to your presentation. And you would go back to itong slide na to. Although, hindi ko naman inaas sa inyo na i-memorize tong venous return stroke volume, hindi pa. You will encounter this sa third ED, sa cardiovascular. Pero, siguro for the group 2, since kayo nagtakal nito, advantage sa inyo when we go to cardiovascular module. Kasi itong slide nito will show again in third LE. And actually, isa sa mga quiz namin before is parang enumerate the flowchart. Ganun. So the fact that you already have this, you already answered the question in the future. No, kumbaga, you already did your assignment sa future. No, very good. I commend. Tapos nagpakita pa kayo ng abnormal. I also commend that you have a comparative table, knowing kaysa alam mo, sometimes no, as a students, what you want kasi is something that you easily understand the topic. And sometimes it's not through sentence. Kaya minsan ayaw natin ng libro kasi very text heavy. We want tables. And that's why in the one slide before, Lovely, can you move one slide before? Yan ang gamitin nila for third early. Exactly. Yan, no? This is also a good table comparing the normal and the abnormal. So actually, wala akong masyadong question kasi most of you answered it. Except siguro ito lang. Sige, let's run down lang yung case nyo. Go back to the first slide. First number 1 slide. Okay, symptoms. Okay, you explain the symptoms. You explain the hyperhidrosis. You even explain bakit siya nag-hyperhidrosis. I like that. Sige, next. We already commented about the orthostatic hypotension. You're able to detect that the patient have autonomic neuropathy, blah, blah, blah. But the focus of our discussion is because the case shows that the patient unable to have sympathetic response. Kasi hindi siya nag-increase heart rate, di ba? I think yun yung key na sinasabi nyo, di ba? From the case. Next slide, sige. Will the patient, sige, next. Okay, yeah. So patient sympathetic is affected. Agree. But will the patient also have abnormal parasympathetic response? So we already said patient definitely have an abnormal sympathetic response. Dapat tumaas yung heart rate pero hindi tumaas yung heart rate.
Yes, Doc, the parasympathetic system activity is also reduced in this case, Doc.
Sige. Sorry pa ulit.
Doc, at the same time, the parasympathetic system is also reduced in this case, Doc.
Parasympathetic is reduced in this case. Yes, so can you give an example now where parasympathetic will also be affected?
In our case, Doc, the heart doesn't slow down because the heart continues to pump because the receptor is already damaged or impaired in this case.
Kunyari hindi heart. Wala sa case wala siyang symptoms. Pero can you give an example of not necessarily sa case natin na abnormal parasympathetic response? So pag parasympathetic, ano bang response pag parasympathetic? Sympathetic ba fight or flight? Pag parasympathetic?
Rest and digest.
Okay, rest and digest. So kung abnormal parasympathetic, ano mangyayari sa rest and digest niya? Pag rest and digest, ano dapat na nangyari? Isipin niyo ba, pag rest and digest, ano dapat nangyari?
Yung ano po, delay po siguro yung sa intestinal yung gastric emptying.
So, constipated siya or diarrhea?
Diarrhea po.
Sure ka? May parasympathetic response ba? Meron, wala. Mahirap tong topic yung sinasabi ko. But gusto ko kasi ikuha niyo yung physiology kasi. Ulitin natin, patient have autonomic dysfunction. Kaya both sympa and parasympathetic are affected. Both of them are affected. So pag parasympathetic, rest and digest, abnormal nga yung parasympathetic response. So may response pa sa parasympathetic or wala? Meron or wala? Yun lang, tanong ko muna.
Doc, meron po. Yung excess parasympathetic activity po nagkakos sa heart na, di ba po, nag-slow down yung heart?
Hindi yun na. Hindi. Pag sinabi natin response, yung response, may nangyari, may response. Nangyari, patient kumakain siya. So usually ang response natin dapat magdumi. Kumain tayo. Magpupo. So ano yung response yun? Parasympathetic, sympathetic.
Parasympathetic po.
Okay. Ako baka hindi yun nakuha. Sige, tama, parasympathetic. Pag sabi ng response, there's an effect. Sige, sa case na lang natin. Yung patient, tumayo. So, dapat ang normal response, mag-sympathetic response. Para tumaas yung heart rate, mag-normalize yung BP. Kaso, dahil nga meron siyang autonomic dysfunction, walang response from the sympathetic. Nakuha niyo, yung case nyo muna, gamitin natin yung case nyo. Kaya nga, nahihilo siya. Kasi nga may autonomic dysfunction. Hindi nag-response si sympathetic. Kaya, syempre, most of you would think, sympathetic lang. But in autonomic dysfunction, parasympathetic is also affected. Gets? Parasympathetic is also affected. So, let's say, sige, let's use CNS na cardiovascular heart rate ulit. So, normally, tapos ka na mag-exercise or tapos ka na mag-perform ng something, magpapahinga ka na lang, upo ka na, manonood ka ng Korean drama. Okay, anong response normally?
Mag-slow po.
Heart rate slow down. What will happen to BP? Goes down. Rest Tama? Pero, because there is abnormal autonomic response, what will happen to the response for parasympathetic? Meron ba? Wala. May response ba ng parasympathetic? Again, we're talking about ang context dysfunction, autonomic nervous dysfunction. May response ba ang parasympathetic? Wala din. Affected din siya. Hindi lang sympathetic, parasympathetic affected din. So kung ganun, ano bang heart rate ng pasyente pag nag-rest siya?
Magre-retain lang po kung sa standing niya po or yung previous.
Exactly. Pwedeng mataas. So, consistent siyang 110, 110. Kahit nakaupo lang siya. No? Kahit naka-rest siya, the patient may feel palpitations, heart rate is high, nag-hyperhidrosis siya, kahit naka-rest siya. Kasi nga, walang improper yung response. Kumbaga, dapat sympathetic, dapat parasympathetic siya, pero walang parasympathetic response. Nakukuha niyo yung point ng discussion? So example, yung kanina sasabi ko, that's why patient with autonomic dysfunction or diabetic autonomic dysfunction, kasi yun yung pinakal nyo. Patient ate something. So dapat normally, pag rest and digest, gagalaw ang ating tiyan. Diba? Sino bang responsible for GI motility? Sympa or para?
Parasympathetic po.
Parasympathetic. Kasi nga, meron siyang autonomic dysfunction. Meron nga siyang problema. Diabetic problem. So nasira din yung autonomic fibers niya papunta sa GIT. So tanong, gagalaw ba yung tiyan niya?
Hindi po, Doc.
Hindi. So patient will present with constipation. So the point here is for this particular case, sympathetic yung obvious na affected. Obvious Pero if itatalang buhay natin yung buhay ng pasyenteng to, okay? Umuwi siya, ganyan. There are times na parasympathetic yung hindi nagre-respond. It's fluctuating. It's irregular. Nakuha nyo? Kasi nga, hindi lang sympathetic yung inaatake, pati parasympathetic is also affected. That's why a patient with autonomic dysfunction, very erratic yung heart rate. 60s, biglang magiging 100. Yung BP niya, minsan 110, tapos biglang 140, biglang 110. Yung very magulo. Because the autonomic response is affected. The response itself, the reflex itself is affected. Okay? I hope nakuha niyo yung point na yun, yung gist na yun. Any question from the group 2? This case is difficult. The autonomic dysfunction is difficult. Ang gusto ko lang is yung the response itself, the reflex itself will be affected. Okay. Sige. Let's go to group number... Kung wala ng question, group 2, may question ba kayo?
Wala na po, Doc.
Okay, let's go to group 1. Thank you, group 2. You may start,
Alright
group.
po.
Yeah, you may start.
Thank you, Doc. Good morning po. Good morning, everyone, docs and classmates. My name is Donna Avila, and we are group number 1. Today, we will be presenting our case discussion. All right, so before we begin, here's a quick overview po of our group members. These are our names and pictures, and later you will hear from everyone as we answer the guide questions. Okay, so let's dive into it. For the salient points of our assigned case, our patient is a 70-year-old male. He is also a retiree and he is a chronic smoker. By chronic smoker, it means someone who has smoked for many years, which is a major risk factor for lung diseases. Now, the patient was brought to the emergency room with the chief complaint of difficulty breathing. The medical term, by the way, that we use for difficulty breathing, or we also call it shortness of breath, is dyspnea. That's why, upon examination, our patient was noted to have dyspnea with audible wheezes, yung tipong may sipol no, sa paghinga, and was also diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, which is a progressive lung disease. So in other words, it slowly gets worse over time, and it also makes it hard to breathe due to airflow obstruction. Ayan. So, in order po to manage this, our patient was given ipratropium, which is an inhaled medication that helped him breathe easier and quickly relieved his bronchoconstrictive symptoms. So that is our case. Now we have a clear grasp of that. I'd like to give the virtual floor to my group mates, Doc Erica, to discuss the guide questions. For our first guide question, what types of autonomic receptors are found on the bronchial smooth muscle and what are their effects when activated? The virtual floor is yours, Doc Erica. Go ahead.
So, isa sa mga autonomic receptor found on our bronchial smooth muscle is the beta-2 adrenergic receptors. Beta-2 adrenergic receptors are part of the superfamilies of G-protein coupled receptors. Na-activate to ng beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist, yung sa first box. So, ma-activate niya yung beta-2 adrenergic receptors. Tapos, sinestimulate niya yung adenylate cyclase via the G-protein, resulting in an increase in intracellular cyclic AMP. Dahil tumaas yung cyclic AMP, na-activate yung protein kinase A, which then phosphorylates and inhibits myosin light chain kinase. Yung myosin light chain kinase is an enzyme necessary for smooth muscle contraction, while also, dahil sa protein kinase, bumababa rin yung intracellular calcium availability. Kasi yung sa calcium natin, yung reuptake niya sa sarcoplasmic reticulum dahil na phosphorylate na yung MLCK, nagde-decrease din yung binding ability nito sa calcium. So kahit may calcium tayo, nahihirapan mag-contract kasi nga hindi na active yung MLCK or nag-decrease yung activity niya. So through these combined effects, nagde-decrease yung contractile activity ng bronchial smooth muscle natin, resulting in smooth muscle relaxation or bronchodilation or airway widening.
So there's another type of autonomic receptor na matatagpuan sa bronchial smooth muscle, which is yung M3 muscarinic receptor. So, nakikita nyo ngayon sa screen nyo yung flow chart para sa mechanism ng receptor na to. So, it is when the parasympathetic nervous system is stimulated. So, through the vagus nerve, which is the cranial nerve number 10, acetylcholine is released. So, yung acetylcholine na yon ay magbabind sa M3 receptors, which, as we know, is a receptor that is a G-protein coupled receptor na gumagamit ng G sub Q protein to stimulate phospholipase C. So, yung phospholipase C ay i-breakdown niya yung PIP2 or yung phosphatidylinositol 4,5-bisphosphate into IP3 or the inositol triphosphate and TAG or the triacyl glycerol. So, first yung sa IP3, magta-travel siya sa endoplasmic reticulum which causes the release of calcium into the cytoplasm. So, yung calcium na yon ay magbabind sa calmodulin na magli-lead sa contraction ng smooth muscle and bronchoconstriction. On the other hand, yung DAG naman or yung diacylglycerol ay magsastay sa membrane and i-activate niya yung PKC or yung protein kinase C which phosphorylates target proteins such as yung myosin and it will amplify contraction, muscle secretion, and airway inflammation. So, dahil doon, mas pinapaliit niya yung daanan ng hangin. So, ayan. There are other receptors, pero hindi siya ganun ka-clinically significant for COPD, but it is present, kagaya ng alpha-adrenergic receptors and M2 muscarinic receptors. So, yung alpha-adrenergic receptors ay matatagpuan rin sa airway ng smooth muscle na nagkakos din ng mild bronchoconstriction pag na-activate. And yung isa pa, which is yung M2 muscarinic receptor na located naman sa presynaptic parasympathetic terminals, ay naglilimit ng release of acetylcholine. So therefore, kapag ka na-block yung M2 muscarinic receptor, ay magre-release yung acetylcholine, the release of acetylcholine will increase and which will cause the worsening of bronchoconstriction. So, ayun po. Next slide.
Okay, for continuation, question number 2. How does the medication influence the autonomic receptor and help relieve the patient's symptoms? So, ipratropium, next slide, was the given medication po sa ating patient. So, it's a kind of drug na acts as a non-selective muscarinic acetylcholine receptor antagonist which blocks or inhibits the effect of M2 receptor in our airways or bronchial smooth muscle. So, yung acetylcholine released siya by a parasympathetic nerve. Then, magbabind siya sa M3 receptor, which then activate yung ating GQ protein. Then, after nun, yung ating IP3 is tataas together with intracellular calcium causes by cell contraction. So, dahil sa medication na ipratropium, binablock niya po yung M3 para mag-stop siya sa pag-bind ng acetylcholine. Dahil doon, yung ating intracellular calcium is magbababa din siya na mag-relieve sa relaxation ng ating bronchial smooth muscle, which results sa bronchodilation or smooth flow ng airway and mare-reduce din po yung muscle mucus secretion. So, next slide po.
So for number 3 question, aside from the mentioned medication, what other treatments can be given to help relieve the patient's symptoms? So in here we have the PD presenting with dyspnea and wheezing. We have 2 groups. We have the LABA and we have the LAMA. For LABA, we have long-acting beta-2 adrenergic agonist. We have an example like salmeterol. These drugs act on beta-2 adrenergic receptors in the bronchial smooth muscle. Ina-activate nito ang GS protein pathway na mag-i-increase ng CAMP or the cyclic AMP na mag-stimulate ngayon the smooth muscle relaxation and bronchodilation. So clinically, magre-reduce to ng dyspnea and mag-i-improve yung airflow. While on the other hand naman, we have the long-acting muscarinic antagonist. These drugs naman works differently. Binablock niya yung muscarinic M3 receptors on the airway smooth muscle. Normally, yung M3 receptors natin via the GQ proteins, i-increase niya yung IP3 and intracellular calcium to cause contraction and mucus secretion. Nagko-contribute naman to sa airway narrowing in COPD. By blocking this pathway, mape-prevent yung bronchoconstriction and reduce yung mucus production. Magkakos naman ng decrease ng IP3 and CA2. Same physiologic outcome naman to. Magsusustain yung bronchodilation, marirelieve yung symptoms, fewer exacerbations, and overall improvements sa patient's breathing. So, these long-acting bronchodilators restore the autonomic balance sa COPD, wherein yung labas natin, mimic niya yung sympathetic activity, wherein yung lamas naman natin, mabablock niya yung parasympathetic overactivity.
Good morning, everyone. I will be discussing the adjuvant therapy for COPD. What is adjuvant therapy? Adjuvant therapy is an additional medication from first-line drugs to help them or alleviate the COPD. I will be discussing 2 categories. The first one is corticosteroids. Before that, I just want to say also, these are not directly in ANS, but they are indirectly that stimulate or enhance beta-2 adrenergic receptors. How do they work? They increase CAMP, as we all know, is a secondary messenger, which relieves or relaxes the smooth muscles. So our first category is corticosteroids. These are glucocorticosteroid receptors, which are which suppresses cytokines and chemokines. Why are they suppressed? Because they promote inflammatory responses. They also while corticosteroids also reduce eosinophil and other inflammatory cell recruitment, it also improves the responsiveness of beta-2 agonists, hence bronchodilators. Another type is phosphodiesterase inhibitors. With phosphodiesterase inhibitors, they are not usually used today or they are third-line drugs. So why? Because they have a narrow activity. They have an increased side effects, which are nausea, vomiting, and arrhythmia. What is arrhythmia? Arrhythmia is an abnormality in heart rate, heart wave, and heart conduction. So why is this used? This is used when corticosteroids or steroids inhaled are insufficient. So these are given. Let's have an overview about phosphodiesterase inhibitors. Why are they important? Because of phosphodiesterase enzyme. It does is it breaks down CAMP, causing it to be inactivated or decreased, hence bronchoconstriction. That's why in phosphodiesterase inhibitors, we inhibit it, but we also block adenosine receptors. Why do we block adenosine receptors? Adenosine receptors increases histamine, leukotrienes, and mast cells. So the increase of this can narrow the airways, causing it for bronchoconstriction. So if we inhibit it and block it, we increase CNP with our desired goal of bronchodilation. Next slide, please. With helping our patient, we must also educate our patient how to help himself. Why is there a need for smoking cessation? He is a chronic smoker, so he has been longly exposed with nicotinic acetylcholine receptors that can be detrimental for the patient. So if we have a thorough interview about the patient with packs per year, week, or month, we can lessen the exposure of toxins, airway irritation, parasympathetic stimulation, and improve breathing. Next slide, please. These are our references, and I hope you've learned from us. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, group. Group number 1. Okay, that's a good presentation and a lot of flow charts. Siguro, although nabanggit naman ni Rojibel, just want to emphasize that if you go to the question number 1, guide question number 1. Sorry ano na, kasi mag-11 na rin no, para matapos tayo ng 11 o'clock. What types of autonomic receptor? This is good. Next, sa muscarinic. Yan. Hindi lang nakalagay dyan yung bronchoconstriction. No? Hindi lang nalagay dyan yung glandular secretion. Okay? Nabanggit mo siya. And it's also in the next slides. No? Pero sa iba kasi baka hindi nila mapansin to. No? Go back. Baka dito lang sila base. There's also involvement of mucus secretion or glandular secretion pag inactivate mo ang N3 muscarinic receptor. Nabanggit mo naman yun eh. Saka na sa yung next few slides nandun naman siya. It's just that for the rest of your classmate, no? Emphasize lang natin siya na kasama din si glandular secretion sa M3 activation, M3 muscarinic 3 receptor activation. Okay? Now, let me share my slide lang. Isa pa. Share some. Okay? Papakinig ako sa inyo. This is what wheezing you would hear. Okay. Sorry. Narinig niyo ba? Hindi? Sa pangat? Ha? Narinig ba? Hindi?
Hindi po masyado mahina po.
Sa pa? May sound ba? Meron naman ba? Narinig yun?
Yes po.
So that's a wheezing, no? There's a bronchoconstrictive or there's obstructive that's happening to the patient. Okay. Now, I just would like to ask the group, can you annotate saan yung problema ng pasyente or saan yung effect ng pasyente? Hindi ko kaya ng sample. Yung ipatropium, saan siya? Can I ask from the one member from the group? Ayun, okay. So it what does it do? It activates or blocks? Sorry, it
blocks po. Binablock po yung M3 receptor.
Okay, it blocks. So lagay natin ganyan. X para mas alam natin na mas visually presentable na okay, it inhibits the M3 receptor leading to tapos pag nagbigay tayo ng salbutamol, no, it activates specifically the beta 3 receptor. Okay, the beta receptor. Okay, this receptor. Okay, sige. Okay. So, I just want to show you, ito lang sa acetylcholine, nabanggit naman na to, na yung flowchart kanina. So, some vision binds to your muscarinic 3 receptor that activates the pathway. And this will lead to the calcium increase, myosin light chain kinase, leading to increased contractility. No? Particularly M3, no? G protein subunit Q. But ipratropium will competitively antagonize, no, or inhibit the receptor, leading to impaired cell signaling na diniscuss ni Dr. Jacinto. So, leading to no contraction, no, or inhibit glandular secretion. Okay, I hope kahit sa case, no, kahit K-shock, COPD, diabetes, balik tayo sa basic, no, parasympathetic, sympathetic, activation of this leads to constriction or dilatation of smooth muscles, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's go to the last group. Okay, last group. Brief lang tayo ha, huwag siya bang haba. You may start.
Ay, hello po, good morning. Kita po ba yung screen? Narinig din po ba? Hello.
Yes.
Hi, good morning. So we are group 2 and we'll be presenting you this case. So what we have is a 65-year-old man which is brought to the ER due to massive bleeding from hematemesis. So pag sinabi po nating hematemesis in layman's term is excessive vomiting of blood po. And then a few minutes later, he loses consciousness, his blood pressure becomes undetectable, and his heart rate drops to 0. Possible cardiac arrest po yung related sa heart po. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, is initiated. 9 minutes later, after the third dose of intravenous epinephrine, pag sinabi po nating intravenous is medicine straight to the vein for faster effect po. And then, the patient is successfully resuscitated with a heart rate at 116 beats per minute, which is not normal po. Kasi po yung normal heartbeat po is dapat 60 to 100 po. And the BP of 90/40 millimeter mercury, which is sabi po natin na hypotensive, which kasi po yung normal BP po dapat is around 120/80. He is connected to a blood transfusion, saline solution, and a norepinephrine infusion line, which is similar to IV or yung sinatawag po natin na intravenous. He is immediately transferred to the intensive care unit po. So here are the guide questions for our group. What autonomic receptors do the administered medications target? How does activation of these autonomic receptors help in regulating the cardiovascular function of the patient, especially in hemorrhagic shock? Explain the physiological effect. What are the possible side effects that could be seen in our patient due to the norepinephrine infusion? So, let me call Doc for this guide question number 1.
So for the guide question number 1, the administered drugs are norepinephrine and epinephrine. For epinephrine, since epinephrine is a non-selective adrenergic agonist, it targets both the alpha 1 and alpha 2 adrenergic receptors and beta 1 and beta 2 adrenergic receptors. Alongside CPR, the primary effects are produced by the alpha 1 through vasoconstriction, perfusion, pressure, and by beta 1 through cardiac contractility and rate that restore circulation.
For the norepinephrine, this medication targets the alpha adrenergic and receptors, and it affects the beta 1 adrenergic receptor, which leads to vasoconstriction in alpha receptor. This results to increase of the heart contractility through the beta receptor. This medication sustains heart support and blood pressure through vasoconstriction. Next slide.
So, the number 2 question is, how does activation of this autonomic receptor help in regulating the cardiovascular function of the patient, especially in hemorrhagic shock? Explain the physiological effects. So we put in the slide the beta receptor first because as you can see here in the flow chart, there is an hemorrhagic shock, or yung tinatawag po natin na it is a life-threatening condition that could cause severe blood loss po. And then the patient was introduced by 3 doses of epinephrine. So in this, it was given intravenously during cardiac arrest to stimulate both alpha and beta receptors in helping to restart the heart and restores the circulation. And then we have the SA node firing to increase heart rate, which turns boosted cardiac output in helping restoring the blood to the brain and the heart despite the low circulating volume. And then we have the increase in the myositis, B1 receptor activation increase the entry of calcium, making the heart contract more strongly, a process known as inotrophy po. This stronger contraction improve cardiac output and the amount of blood pumped out by the left ventricle of the heart in one heartbeat. And then we can see also after resuscitation, non-epinephrine was used to maintain blood pressure to alpha-1 mediated vasoconstriction and mild beta-1 to stimulate the heart. Doc Mariel for the wrap-up.
So here po, for the wrap-up for the guide question number 2, again, the central problem in this case was massive blood loss leading to hemorrhagic shock. Na-compromise na yung venous return, cardiac output, and organ perfusion. So, para ma-counteract po, yung sympathetic nervous system was pharmacologically engaged gamit nga po yung intravenous epinephrine. Yun dun po, nag-act siya as neurotransmitter substitute binding to beta-1 adrenergic receptors in the heart and kidney, whereas yung alpha-1 receptors naman for the vasculature. Beta-1 activation restored the heart rhythm and force of contraction, while also initiating the RAAS pathway in the kidney to conserve fluid. Together with alpha-1 receptor activation cause vasoconstriction, na-maintain po niya yung systemic vascular resistance. Yung receptor-mediated sympathetic responses na to, they help po na ma-stabilize yung blood pressure and perfusion to vital organs. So, nakabay po ng more time until definitive treatment with fluids and blood transfusion were addressed.
Okay, and then?
Next slide po.
So, I'll be reporting for the alpha-1 receptor po. In hemorrhagic shock, the sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system is rapidly activated to maintain perfusion and stabilize the cardiovascular function. Now, the norepinephrine infusion primarily acts on adrenergic receptors to restore blood pressure and perfusion in shock. Its strongest effect is on alpha-1 receptors. So the stimulation of alpha-1 adrenergic receptors causes vasoconstriction of arteries and veins, which increases systemic vascular resistance and blood pressure, while also improving venous return to support cardiac output. Now, the alpha-1 receptors are located on blood vessels. When the receptor is activated, the smooth muscle tightens, which makes the blood vessels narrow that results in vasoconstriction. So due to vasoconstriction, the blood has a smaller space to pass through, which causes higher resistance since it's harder for blood to flow. resulting to increase in systemic vascular resistance. So systemic vascular resistance means the resistance against which the heart pumps. Again, due to narrow arteries, the heart must pump harder, so the arterial pressure rises. For narrow veins or venoconstriction, the blood is squeezed back to the heart and it increases. Preload of blood leads to more resistance, results in higher blood pressure overall. Next po.
For our last guide question for this case, the question is, what are the possible side effects that can be seen in our patient due to the norepinephrine infusion? So, norepinephrine infusion, ibig sabihin lang po nito, may continuous supply or giving of norepinephrine. This means merong sustained levels of norepinephrine in the body. So the side effects with this, the side effects are often the result of norepinephrine activation of alpha-1 receptors, leading to the extension effects beyond the intended therapeutic outcomes. Next po. So these are the possible or potential side effects. First one is hypertension. So this is related to the effect of the norepinephrine on alpha-1, which is vasoconstriction. Alpha-1 receptors promotes vasoconstriction and ultimately increases blood pressure. So pwedeng magkaroon ng hypertension pag excessive yung vasoconstriction. Next po. Next is ischemia or reduced organ perfusion. Again, related din po ito sa vasoconstriction because vasoconstriction of vessels decreases the space available for blood to flow. Means that the volume of the blood going to the organs will be reduced. And if blood is reduced to these organs, yung oxygen ay mare-reduce din po. Next po.
So, to continue po, it was stated by Doc Santos nga that it can cause vasoconstriction. So when we say constrict, nagtitight, humihigpit yung mga vessels. So nagdi-decrease yung space for blood to flow. Ibig sabihin, nagdi-decrease yung perfusion sa mga organs ng patient natin, leading to this side effect which is peripheral ischemia. Pwedeng mapansin sa skin ng patient na parang nagbo-bluish to blackish in color na siya. This is due to the lack of oxygen or nutrient na naa-absorb ng mga tissues ng patient. Next, side effects would be hyperglycemia or yung pagtaas ng glucose ng patient. We added this kasi part ng response ng katawan natin yung pag-produce ng glucose during fight or flight response. And as well as continuous kasi yung pag-infuse ng norepinephrine sa patient natin. However, yung norepinephrine, it has a lesser potent effect kaysa sa epinephrine since mas higher yung affinity ng norepinephrine sa ating alpha-1 receptor. So this side effects or this implication po is less likely to happen sa ating patient. Next slide. These are the following references that we use for our case presentation. Thank you so much po for listening.
Okay, so good no. Actually, nabanggit mo na norepinephrine kasi hindi siya nabanggitin. Parang hindi ko siya masyadong narinig or na-emphasize. Nasabi siya, hindi siya na-emphasize that norepinephrine has higher affinity sa alpha receptors. Although nagbabayin siya sa beta receptors, pero more affinity. Alam niyo mas siguro ibig sabihin ng affinity, no? Mas numidikit siya, mas nagbabind siya sa alpha receptors than beta. While epinephrine, how about epinephrine?
Epinephrine po higher affinity for beta 1 and beta 2.
Actually, some books will tell you same lang, alpha and beta. Some books will tell you that, no? Or some books will tell you low concentration of epinephrine will initially bind with higher affinity with beta receptors. Weird lang, no? Mahirap din, no? May ibang books kasi sabi, same lang, no? But we know that that epinephrine will bind with beta receptor than norepinephrine. Ang ibig ko sabihin ni Air is, bakit Doc sabi ng ibang book, same lang? Ang ibig sabihin is, bakit si epinephrine, same lang binabind niya kay alpha and beta? Kasi Kaya same lang kasi due to the norepinephrine, initially nagbabind siya kay alpha. So parang naiiwan si beta. So syempre wala na kay beta kundi si epinephrine na nagbabind dun. So parang nagiging dating epinephrine binds more with beta than alpha kasi iniwan siya na mag-isa ni norepinephrine. Parang ganun. But in reality, kung wala si norepinephrine daw, beta will bind to both alpha and beta. Epinephrine rather will bind to both alpha and beta, parang same level somehow. Okay? But definitely norepinephrine will bind with alpha receptor more than with your beta. Now, go back to the case. That's why, kunyari, this patient, no, sa case. So, binigyan natin siya ng norepinephrine. Okay? At alam natin, hindi maganda laging mataas ang norepinephrine. When you go become a clerk or become doctor na intern, pinabantay sa inyo nung residente mo, consulta, o bantay mo tong pasyenteng to, ha? Kasi nga, di ba, nag-CPR tayo, nag-collapse siya, zero siya, di ba, nag-arrest siya, tapos ngayon, nabuhay siya, bantayan mo, ha? Siyempre, eventually, the patient, hindi siya pwede forever nakakonect kay norepinephrine, di ba? Ibababa din natin siya. So, that's why the question, third question is side effects, is for you to find out ano yung mga possible signs na makita natin sa pasyente para sabihin natin, hey doc, I think it's time for us to stop the norepinephrine infusion line. Kasi hindi pwedeng forever yan. So, aside from those sa mga nabanggit, cold clammy, tissue ischemia, mataas na yung BP. Initially, di ba, BP niya 90-40. So, after one day, naging 170/100. Makakailangan mo na i-stop yun. But aside from that, ano pa yung one sign na, okay, baka napapasobre na yung norepinephrine. We might have to step down or titrate down the norepinephrine infusion. Can the group members from the group 4 tell me what sign?
Minsan po behavioral po ganyan. If the patient reports or exhibits headache, tremors, or even confusion or agitation when interviewed po.
Okay. Or, paano kung yung patient naka-intubate? Siyempre, hindi mo siya ma-interview. Sign lang, sign. Nakikita. Not necessarily nasasabi ng pasyente. Remember, norepinephrine will bind to your alpha and beta receptors. More alpha, but will also bind with beta. So, anong sign?
Doc, since 'di ba nag-cardiac arrest siya, so pwede na meron na gumagalaw na yung mga daliri niya. Meron na siyang signs of movement po. So, yun po.
Okay. Sign, ano pa? Sign na napapasobre na yung norepinephrine that we have to step down. Or titrate down. So, pag pa namin ng norepinephrine, syempre magbabind siya kay alpha-1 receptors. Kay alpha-1 lang ba?
Doc, rapid heart rate po.
Yes.
Blood pressure,
Heart
rapid breathing.
rate. So, if the heart rate is, although na to heart rate 116 kasi nga nag-epinephrine tayo, but after a certain period of time, baka bumaba na yan to 90, 80, no? But now, if the patient is consistently 116, 120, 130, 140, kahit wala ka ng epinephrine na binigay, norepinephrine lang, that's probably already a lot of norepinephrine. You have to titrate down. We don't want the heart rate to be also very, very high. That's also dangerous. Sabi nga natin, use natin 60 to 100. So, yun lang. Gusto ko sabihin, the patient might at risk of having tachyarrhythmia or fast, irregular heart rate because of the norepinephrine. Especially kung sobrang dami na ng norepinephrine sa system. So, sometimes kasi patient intubated, mata lang, di ba? Hindi sila makasalita. Gumagano yung kamay, pero syempre, di ba? So, sometimes one sign, o minsan pagtulog siya, di ba? One sign na nakakita natin, oh, the heart rate is high. We have to titrate down the norepinephrine. Okay? So, yun lang. So, siguro share lang ako ng slide before we end. Saka mas mababa ang, oh yes, yun pala, urine output, yes. Kasi, because of, bakit bumababa ang urine output ng pasyente pag norepinephrine infusion? Group 4? Ha? Ha?
Nag-decrease yung urine output dahil po nagkakaroon ng excessive vasoconstriction. Nare-reduce po yung renal perfusion kaya po
Yun.
nagre-result sa
So, di talaga okay din ang mataas. Bigyan mo ng norepinephrine. No? Bumabaksak ang blood flow sa kidney, patient might add risk of kidney failure secondary to the medication that you gave. Okay, so delikado din yun, no? Mamaya, dahil sa gamot na binigay mo, nasira pa yung kidney, madialysis pa siya. So we have to be aware of the side effects. No? Okay, or basically, for this context, we have to be aware of what receptors are being activated. Okay? So ito, gusto ko lang pakita na the alpha, the beta-1, beta-2, all three, or even though they are adrenergic receptors, they have different mechanism of actions. They have different locations. Okay? Very important to, yung table na to, no? Vasoconstriction, vasodilation, blah, blah, blah. Which I already emphasized in my recorded lecture. Okay? So yun lang. Do you have any question? Group number 4? Wala. So to wrap up lang, again, what we talk about, there are 4 cases. No? Most of the time, we talk about yung either sympathetic or parasympathetic, the receptors involved. So in my lecture, it's very important that you have to differentiate sympa and parasympathetic, both of their anatomy. Hindi man natin na-discuss yung masyadong anatomy difference, but you have to know sino yung long preganglionic, short preganglionic, okay? Saan yung autonomic ganglion? You have to know those things. We also discussed the biochemical difference, yung receptors, di ba? Doon tayo actually mas nag-focus yung yung G protein subunit receptors ni beta-1, beta-2, ni alpha-1. Actually, ano yung opposite ng beta-1 receptor sa parasympathetic? Kung si beta-1 increase heart rate, sino yung sa parasympathetic? Yung opposite?
Alpha 2.
Parasympathetic? Group 3. So, group 3 sumagot dito. Nakalimutan na.
M2 po.
M2, di ba? Ano yung effect ng M2? Ganun di ba? Bradycardia, di ba? M2. Tapos ito, beta-1, increase heart rate. So, di ba? Opposite ends, usually ganun, no? So, we have to know those things, no? Yung sino magkaka-opposite ends. Ayan. And then physiologic actions, like, I think focus tayo din sa physiologic, like, yung mga excessive activation of your M3 leads to bronchoconstrictions. That's why we give ipratropium to bronchodilate and inhibit secretions. Okay, activation of alpha-1, vasoconstriction, activation of beta-1, contraction of your heart, activation of your beta-2, dilatation of your bronchioles, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Those are important, in basically autonomics, no? Yun yung sabihin kong high yield, baga. Okay? To end this, I just want to comment the 4 groups. Okay, good start. You did well. Siguro for rooms for improvement, some of you still reading. No, when you discuss, you read. Napapansin ko obvious naman no? Binabasa niyo lang kung ano yung nakasulat. As much as possible, okay lang, sige, pero we want you to create your own words. Imagine nyo na lang, no, kung ako as a professor, nagtuturo ako, I just read the slides, no? That's not a good presentation, di ba? Maboboard kayo sa discussion. Kasi binabasa lang pala ni Doc, hindi ako na magbasa. So the same way with students, from us, we want you to explain it in your own end, no? In your own words. Parang robot or AI. We don't want you to be like that. Na binabasa nyo lang yung script nyo, not explaining it in good. But majority of you able to explain it. You define terms, which we love it. So it's a good start for all of you. I hope you continue to do it. Okay, do you have any question about the topic autonomics? Wala naman. Straightforward naman. This is very important topic ha. This will be a very good, very important foundation for your succeeding topics. As you can see, we discussed RESP, we will discuss cardiovascular. We will probably also encounter autonomic sa endocrine and even in GIT and NINA. So very, very important tong topic na to. Kailangan ma-master nyo tong topic na to. Okay? So if there's no question, any announcement for the muscle physio or yeah?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Recording stopped.
Sige. So,